way back to your places, I have two things I need to tell you. First of all, I was corrected by my saying that the NCYM Inc. Trustees of Trust Funds only had 3 members. They have probably 6. And Deeks McCullen is one of those representatives on the NCYM Inc. Trustees of Trust Funds. That was, those members were designated when we had the division and became FCNC in the fellowship. And also, I forgot to mention earlier, Rusty Parsons and how much we appreciate the work that he's doing visiting the monthly meetings throughout our FCNC. And we've had a very productive meeting with Rusty and giving us sharing people's concerns and questions about our yearly meeting. And we just appreciate Rusty very much. Thank you. And now I'll call on Mike Phelps Sr. to give a report for revitalization. Jake Penley is chair of that committee, but he's got a problem with his talking today. He's got a little problem with his throat, so Mike's going to give that report.
Clerk, please. Thank you. That's an amazing time, Jake not being able to talk. Friends, thanks for being here. Those online, we thank you for tuning in and being a part of this ministry today. From Ministry Council, I'd like to report on Revitalization Committee. It has been a committee that has been great to meet with and has functioned at a high level in the last several months. There's been a lot of work done to put together a program that we'd like to get your blessing on today to roll out to each monthly meeting, and that monthly meeting could then determine if they would like for the revitalization to come and be a part of a dialogue with them to see if they could in turn and possibly improve the way they minister to their inside their walls and outside at the same time. The name of the program is Light a Fire Ministry. And again, the revitalization has put this together. You know, if you look at statistics, they're alarming that anywhere from 80 to 90% of the evangelical churches have been identified as plateauing or declining. Jesus commanded in the scriptures that we revitalize ourselves. Revitalization is a part of the church. How does the church do that? We've offered in this program 5 different areas that we would help them look at. The number 1 is survive or thrive. It'd be a conversation and a survey of somewhat. The second one is connect, the initial walkthrough of the meeting. The third would be a church walk through the resources that they have and we could offer. A meeting for review and goal setting, and developing their own personal plan to thrive. The first one would talk about somewhat of rebranding. Rebranding could be anything from changing the name, your logo, your website, your signage, how you present yourself on Facebook, YouTube, how do people recognize you? How do you fit into the community? How do you market your ministry? How do you reflect who you are and what you're going to do? You know, it starts with the end in mind. You have multiple steps from concept to solution. You select a single path moving forward. You create a final solution. You share it with the membership. You receive criticism from them. There is nothing wrong with people offering their own twist on what you might be trying to do. They may have a sense of God that you have not thought about. After that, you resketch and move forward. You own it, and you turn it over to the members of the church. You turn it over to them for the ministry that will be provided inside and outside of the walls. The second thing that you would look at is there's 15 on the packet that you may have, and this packet has been sent to ministers and ministering council clerks. If there are those out there that didn't get it, we can send it to you electronically. We just need your website, your email address, and we'll be glad to get those to you. But there'll be a walkthrough of the facilities. Sometimes we can't see the forest for the trees. And there might be things that someone could suggest that would not be out of character that you could do that would help visitors that might be coming or would come, that would help them feel more comfortable in your facilities. The most of it comes down to planning, being willing to make a few major changes. The level of engagement inside and outside of your church must be something that all agree upon. Technology. You've heard a little bit about technology this morning. Those of you out there today are listening via technology. But for churches, technology is something in the future, but it's something of the present too. Technology changes all the time. Forbush, where I'm a member of and where you're listening from today, we went online about 3 years ago. We've had as much as 4,600 hits a month on our website. There's a lot of people checking you out, trying to figure out who you are, what you are, and if you have the love of Christ that they want. So technology is something, if you don't have it, and you say, well, there's no way I know how to do it. There might be a teenager in the community who just love to come and run your video and your audio on church every Sunday morning, and they would love to do it. And you know what? Most of you would love to have them. Because I've been in some meetings here lately that 70 is a young person. Technology. It's something that markets your meeting. It's something that manages your meeting. There's a lot of things that can be done automated. It moves out to and spreads the gift of Christianity to the world, and it reaches across the community of friends in North Carolina. It's about doing church differently, but the theology is the same. The love is the same. It's still all about Christ. But are you sharing? And there's someone out there that would like to come to your meeting if they knew who you were and what you were doing. Then finally, let's talk about, outreach is a part of it too. If your community knows who you are and what you're about, they'll be there. And then finally, vision and ministry. The vision of your church is something you have to develop. God's unique calling upon your church. Your ministry will thrive, and believers will want to invest in the calling with their God-given talent and resources if you have the vision that they're called to. The vision must be clear, it must be challenging, it must be hope-filled, a picture from your heart of the future of your ministry. As you believe, it can be and must be to guide your church. A few questions, and friends are about queries and about questions that you might ask yourself about the vision that you would like to look to. What does God want to accomplish through you? What will your ministry look like to be accomplished? The importance of the vision: it encourages unity, it creates energy, it provides purpose, it fosters risk-taking. Are you willing to take a chance? Are you willing to reach out and pull that person in? Might be a little out of your comfort zone, but are you willing to show the love of Christ outside of the walls of your meeting? It enhances your leadership. It's leadership development. Ministering councils, today, are you searching in your ranks for those gifts that God has given your members? Every member in every meeting has one gift. All you pastors in here, I've heard you, every one of you preach on it. Everybody's got one gift, and some of you've got a whole lot more. But everybody has that gift. They just have to be willing to step out. It promotes excellence. It sustains ministry. Vision can be effectively shared through a vision statement. It must be clear, it must be inspirational, it must be memorable, something concise, something easy to remember. You know, questions you might ask about your vision, and I'm trying to challenge you through some of this. I want you to understand that these questions are something you need to ask yourself about the greatest gift you've ever given, were ever given, the ability to disciple another human being, to share that they are important to God's love, that they are your friend, and you're the only one that can reach out to them because they trust you. You know, the importance of that vision is how can the church leadership become hopeful and visionary? Right now, this world is not very hopeful and visionary. It's a little bit better than it was a month or two ago, but it's still got a long way to go. What kind of church do you want to be? Do you want to be the one in 20 years from now, they close the doors and you're the last one that goes to the cemetery? Being blunt, folks, but it's happening all around us. What is God's preference for your future of your church? Where do you sense God's leading you? These are some of the questions that you'll be asked if you want to take part in this. What will your church look like in 3 to 5 years? What new things do you intend on pursuing? Does our vision statement give a powerful picture of our church? Does our vision statement clarify the directions in which our church needs to move? And finally, your mission. Mission is the purpose of the church. It sets church distinction. It answers questions. What are we supposed to be doing? Have you asked that lately? When you come in and you sit down and the word is given to you, does it ever hit your heart? What am I supposed to be doing? What did that word mean to me? How am I supposed to take that and move forward this week? I know I'm preaching to the choir, but if you don't do it, who's going to, folks? If you're not the ones that takes ownership of moving us forward, who will? What are we supposed to be doing? What is our primary thing that God has up for us to accomplish? All of these are questions that we're going to ask. What are we attempting to do for God and for our people? What is our church supposed to be doing? Who will we serve, and how will we serve these people? Can we articulate our mission in a written statement? What words communicate best our target group? Do people understand what we have written? Is our mission statement broad enough? Is our mission statement clear? Is the mission statement brief and simple? Is our mission statement memorable? Are we showing the love of Christ outside of our walls? Clerk, please. This group is serious. We hope that you'll take it seriously. Seriously enough that you'd say, will you come and be a part of helping us discern where we need to go? It's not one cookie cutter thing. There's just pieces that will fit your group. There's urban churches, there's rural churches, there's mixed ages, there's younger groups, there's older groups. It's not one thing fits everything. But there's bits and pieces in there for everyone. Jake, have I said enough? let Jake Penley or myself know if you would like for your meeting to be a part of this. We do have 2 meetings that have already indicated they'd like for us to start meeting with them. Clerk, please, we would just like Rep. Body's blessing to move forward with this document.
Thank you, Mike, and the committee. You've done an excellent job. It's a wonderful work. Do you approve of this Light of Fire ministry? Thank you.
Clerk, please, Minister and Council, I would like to share that Revitalization has been meeting regularly, almost every month. We've missed 1 month, I know December, but almost every month. And another committee that's been meeting regularly is Recording Committee. Just a few notes from the Recording Committee. We have 3 candidates at this time that are on target for recording this annual session. Now, things can happen. Somebody can get sick or anything like that, but barring no complications, we have 3 candidates that will do their final exit interviews May or June, and they will be sent forward to Minister and Council, and then Minister and Council will bring it forward to annual sessions for possible recording. This Thursday night, it was already mentioned that Gary Chapman will be at Marlboro Friends. This is hosted by the Recording Committee. It is hopefully an attempt at continuing ed, and we'll have the candidates that are in recording will be there too, and continuing ed, and it's for all pastors and minister and council clerks. We have invited a few other folks, but at this time we still have a few openings. If you see Rusty Parsons today, or me or anyone, and let us know so I can let Rusty know, he will be at the door at Thursday night, and it's $5 per person to attend. So it's not all about marriage. It's not all about the 5 love languages. It's mostly about communicating. And Lord only knows that the church today needs better communications. And that's something that we've been working at, but we got a long ways to go. So that will be going on this Thursday night at Marlboro Friends. Minister and council, if you have designated or you have found anyone in your membership that has the gift of ministry that you would like to suggest they go on the pulpit supply list. And I've had folks tell me, said, look, we're not going to give someone to you to put on pulpit supply because we need them to teach Sunday school. We need them to fill into the pulpit. We need them to do Bible studies. You know, you're looking at it wrong. We would not take someone away from your meeting when you're doing ministry. But there's other people that do ministry different times than you do. And if someone has that gift, they're needed, because pastors have to have vacations, they have to have other things to do. So if you know of someone that would go on the pulpit supply list, please let us know so we could add those people to that. Recorded ministers of any kind or lay people, let us know. But please, minister and council, send that to us. Lastly, from Minister and Council Clerk, nominating committee for Minister and Council. We do not have a functioning nominating committee. Barring people standing or suggesting right now, I will reach out to the Minister and Council clerks of the 4 quarters, and either their suggestion for a committee member out of Minister and Council's, or those folks will have to function, because by annual sessions, we need to have in place committee members and clerks for 2022. Everyone in place right now has been, was nominated and approved at last annual sessions, but we have to have somebody going forward. And that either has to be the clerks of the four quarters, or it needs to be from the body. Clerk, would the body like to give suggestions, or do they want to go with the clerks of the quarters?
You've heard Mike's request. Do you have suggestions for him today, or do you want to let this be decided at the quarterly meeting level?
If you do it at quarterly meeting level, I need to know soon, because they have to have time to function and to call people and talk to people. It's not an easy task to get anybody to be a clerk nowadays. And you know what? They's a real blessing if God's leading you there.
I do believe Yadkin Valley's quarterly meeting is meeting this month, and so is Contentnia, and Southern will meet in May, is that right? Third Sunday in May. I'm not sure about Western Quarter.
I think
Okay.
I think he's Minister Council Clerk, and Greg Creed from Concord is my understanding from Western. David, is
Okay.
that right? Greg Creed, Minister Council Clerk from Western?
Okay, thank you. So if you do have suggestions, please let Mike know, and please make sure that during Ministry and Council quarterly meeting that you bring it to the attention of their clerk that these people are needed to serve.
Online, we had a comment that quarterly meetings are not currently meeting, somebody said. So,
Western's not currently meeting? Okay. We don't know the details, but it may be that the third Sunday in May, Western quarterly meeting may be held.
Just let me know, yes or no. It does, we'll work it out with the clerks of the meeting, one way or the other. But just let me know if you'd rather do it from quarterly meeting. Clerk, is there any questions? Russ?
On the event at with Gary Chapman, they are social distancing, so people need to bring a mask, and just know that we won't be sitting close together, and that's why there is a limit on how many people can attend.
Thank you. Along those same lines, I have Greg Creed. He's chair of the nominating committee. I have his report. He wasn't able to be here today. I've sent a letter to quarterly meeting clerks, and please make sure that this comes up at your quarterly meeting. Each quarter needs 2 representatives on the nominating committee. This past year, our FCNC nominating committee functioned with 2 active members. That's hard to do. So please make sure that during your quarterly meeting, 2 members are appointed for the FCNC nominating committee. Also, we have had a resignation from the program committee, and we need someone to fill that position immediately. So if you know of anyone who would have an interest in serving on the program committee, please let myself or Greg know. And at this time, I'll have Roger Holt present the missions committee. Scott Carter is doing an excellent job as the chair, but he wasn't able to be with us today. I was able to attend their last meeting by Zoom, and they are a very active and productive committee.
FCNC Missions Committee report for April the 10th, 2021, mid-year gathering. With the global impact of COVID, travel of missionaries has been greatly restricted, and many missionary projects have been placed on hold. Our third world friends have had greater burdens due to the pandemic. Many communities had barely enough resources to survive before the pandemic have seen those resources disappear. The countries where most of our missions are located in East Africa, the Caribbean, and Latin America will be the last to receive vaccinations. Quakers in the Samburu and Turkana regions of Kenya are semi-nomadic and depend on agriculture for their livelihood. 2020 brought both record flooding and drought on an unprecedented scale. These were ushered in with historic swarms of locusts. This may all seem negative and depressing, but there is good news. Quaker meetings are growing in Kenya with meeting houses over capacity. More and more people are learning about Christ and finding the way to salvation. New meetings are being planted in Tanzania and Uganda. Our friends in Matamoros, Mexico have missed visits from FCNC and other U.S. yearly meetings, but have had help from Mexico yearly meeting. It may seem that the Quakers in Matamoros have very little, but they themselves are reaching out and providing help to impoverished communities outside of their city. Belize Friends School has had to suspend meeting in person due to COVID, but enough money has been donated to provide each student with a tablet so they could continue their studies from home. Because of travel restrictions, there has been little update on the status of Jamaica yearly meeting. Hopefully the situation will change soon and we will reconnect with our brothers and sisters in Jamaica. While the amount of donations and fundraising opportunities had decreased, the needs are as great as ever. Please remember these critical needs in your prayers and financially. The Missions Committee is planning a Mission Sunday for May 23rd. We will send out inserts that each meeting can use in the bulletin with hopes that special collections are taken that day or another selected Sunday to be given to FCNC for use in our mission programs. We currently plan to have another silent auction this year at a yearly meeting. This did not happen last year, so hopefully everyone is accumulating their items, and this year will be the biggest one yet.
Thank you, Roger, for reading that. This was written, well, a couple of months ago when the Missions Committee met. The situation in Kenya or East Africa and Jamaica has deteriorated. COVID is just, as Lydia Grapan says, spreading like wildfire. There are no ICU beds in Jamaica or Kenya, and people are dying. So please remember them in your prayer. The latest estimate about the vaccination is that it will take years for East Africa to reach herd immunity. Brent and I had planned to go to Jamaica this summer, not to take a team, because we knew that would not be possible. We had hoped to meet with our Jamaica young friends and do a workshop with them. But every day I look at the State Department website and it says, don't go. So please remember them in your prayers. Carrie Ritter is going to give a report from Friends Campus Ministry.
Brenda, I did miss a question that somebody asked. Do all committees need representatives? I guess some people need to know what committees need representatives when they were asking for people to fill in earlier.
Right now, it's the program committee that needs a representative.
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Hi, I'm going to be brief because I see the time, by the way, but I just wanted to give you a little update on Friends Campus Ministry. We are at 3 locations currently, and we have 5 interns. Technically, one's got a different title, but I'll explain that in just a minute. So our 2 interns in Greensboro is Beulah Gillian and Brewer Baker, and they are meeting weekly in Bible studies. This Thursday is actually their first in-person meeting, so they're super excited. They're finally comfortable enough because Greensboro is a hodgepodge of different colleges, and every one of them has their own rules about who could be where, when, and how. So they have been meeting virtually, but this week they're going to meet face-to-face, so they're super excited. There's about 16 young adults that flow in and out. If you know anything about young adults, They don't come every week, but they're coming in and out, and they're in contact, and we're reaching out to them. In Raleigh, we have 2 interns, Kristen and Dylan Mesenheimer. Dylan's actually graduating, and we have a freshman that is coming up that is interested in becoming an intern in Raleigh, so we will be reaching out to him any moment to see if he wants to jump in with FCM. And at Appalachian, we have Rhett Stillman. I know Yadkin Corder has worked really hard with Appalachian, and they have done a lot of outreach up there, so we're going to continue. Rhett's going to continue contacting with Yadkin Corder and working with them as well. But he is also officially one of our interns now. They've met maybe once, very kind of informally, and he's doing a lot of outreach and planning some things, especially jumping up in the fall. So if you have any ideas, please let me know. There's my phone number. If you know of any college student that needs a reach, you let us know. I or one of these 5 will get in contact with them. A couple other things. 3 of the 5 are working at Quaker Lake this summer, and they're all super excited, so they're going to be finding the college people. It was a little hard with the way things were last year, and so they're super excited to all be able to be together and to grow and all of that Heather gets to be in charge of. So now they are all technically meeting in person, which is great. The semester wraps up at the end of April, beginning of May, so there's really only a couple more weeks in our semester. So they're already planning for the fall. So if you know of anyone that's coming out there, please let us know. We are trying to become official organizations at each place. We are in Raleigh because we've been there the longest. But we have to have a certain amount of people that go to the school and a representative at the school. So Appalachian can't do that technically by fall, but that is their goal next year so that we can be an official organization there as well. We are currently updating the website. Beulah is and Paul is, because if you look on there, I think I'm still in a picture, and one of our interns is no longer there. And we've got Greensboro and we've got Appalachia to add to the list. So if you want current information, give us a little bit. We are currently updating that website. And while I'm up here, 3 of the 5 interns also planned the young adult retreats. So there was a first, I guess, annual FCNC young adult beach retreat last year. There's another one on the books now that they're planning, and they have a spring retreat next weekend, April 16th through the 18th at Lake Norman State Park. So if anyone wants to, they do have a campsite, and they've got spread out so people can social distance. So if you know of anybody that wants to go to that, please let us know. The registration is online. I got a text at midnight that someone else was going, so they're that excited. I'm telling you, young adults, they're a last-minute group sometimes, so you go ahead and let them know, because they might want to. They might get bored and want to come hang out with us. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, want to know anything more about FCM, what we do, how we do it, please contact me. I will be willing to let you know whatever I can tell you. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie, for that report. Very nice. Heather Varner is going to come and talk to us about Quaker Lake. Yay. While Heather is coming forward, I would like to tell you about a person that I've been in contact with. His name is Gilbert. He is a Kenyan Quaker, and he is the pastor of a church in Baltimore. And since coming to Baltimore, he has found that the Quaker theology and FCNC theology is very similar, and so he would like to have an association with our yearly meeting. I plan to invite him officially to annual sessions, and they're also interested in maybe sending some campers to Quaker Lake. I say that so that there is a possibility they may need some funds. So if anyone might be interested in helping to sponsor a child from a Quaker church in Baltimore, who they're also Kenyans, please let me know. Thank you.
Well, it's really, really good to be here with you guys to actually talk about some stuff that's going to happen. So I think we all should just take a minute and celebrate that. We will not take things for granted anymore, will we? I shared with a group of staff. We had an event, and then we had some training afterwards a couple weeks ago. that I've been thinking a lot about Jeremiah, and I talked about Jeremiah 29:11 through 13 about God's plans. And you know, he was speaking to people in exile about reminding them that even though they weren't where they expected, that he hadn't forgotten them. And I think that's something that we're holding, you know, greatly to at Quaker Lake and everywhere, is we're not where we expected to be. You know, last year was definitely not what we had expected, but he has not forgotten us, and he finishes what he starts. And I think we can all give a big shout of praise to that, because he does finish what he starts. We are a huge example of that, because the support that you all have showed us, our campers' families have showed us, just from the different fundraisers and things we did last year. God has not forgotten Quaker Lake, and we are truly, truly thankful to be in the position we're in, to be able to do stuff. So let me catch you up on some of that. So you guys know last year we were able to do some abbreviated things near the end of the year with masks and distanced and outside, but we did the trunk or treat instead of course, the pumpkin festival, but it was a great success and families felt very comfortable, and it was very, you know, we had mitigated a lot of risk with the way that we did it, but it was a great time and kids were there, and we had so many wonderful volunteers that did their trunks, and we did it big at Quaker Lake, and it was really awesome. We did the candlelight service and just, you know, did some things differently with programming. Again, you know, masks, and we were outside, but we also did the lighting of the cabins, and a bunch of past staff came in, and, you know, if you make anything competition with anybody who's ever worked at Quaker Lake or volunteered at Quaker Lake, and you get them going, you know, so they were going crazy, you know, against each other, I had different generations, and it was actually really, really cool. And so after the ceremony, after our candlelight service, we kind of lit up all the cabins. So probably we're learning through this that it's a good time to try some things out that might become keepers, you know, so like some good things that are happening. As we move into this year, we did the flashlight Easter egg hunt. It was just the family flashlight Easter egg hunt. And so we had about 160 people a couple weeks ago, and families got to go find Easter eggs. And when kids come to that event, they think it's going to be just an Easter egg hunt, and it's a lot more elaborate than that. And so parents got to participate, and you know, we do this big game where you go around and you get eggs and you put them in your dozen, and then, you know, I announced to everybody that the Easter bunnies decided to keep all the eggs this year, so we're all working together to beat the Easter bunny. And so we have these bunny dens, and you go play rock, paper, scissors against the Easter bunnies, and we always have this one where we blacklight, you guys know the ping pong, I call it the ping pong room, and Paul, we call it the ping pong room, but all these new generations of staff call it the staff room because we convert it to the staff room in the summers. But in the old lodge, we do black lights in there and have all this glowy stuff and play music, and they go in and challenge the Easter bunny. Well, this year we added the English countryside bunnies at the picnic shelter to have more. So I had two staff, and they were all dressed up, and they had their fine china, and they talked, and one of them was pretty good British accent. The other one was so-so all night when they encountered the kids, and they were doing their rock, paper, scissors. So a lot of parents were like, we had no idea it was all this. And so it was really great. And again, just kind of our strategy right now to take what we can and adjust our programming to just be great with what we can do, instead of taking what camp was pre all this stuff and like trying to box it in, you know, with these regulations. We're trying to be creative, you know, like all you guys are with all your programming and all the things to do. So it was really, really good. We've hired our staff for the summer, and that was quite a challenge. The young adult thing is so true. And just people in general, I mean, we all know people are less connected, people won't commit. I mean, there's just so much to it. And a lot of it is what all we've been through, and a lot of it is, you know, we've all kind of got new habits and, you know, everything. So we're kind of gearing back up. I've been saying Quaker Lake's like Sleeping Beauty, and we're waking back up now. But the staff thing, you know, we've said for years, it's always like your senior staff or your staff you've worked for several years are kind of passing the baton to the new staff. And I've been telling everybody this summer, it's like there's a pile of batons, and I'm going to have to like hand them all out because we don't have a lot of returners coming in. I've retained a lot of the folks who were going to work last year that didn't get to work, which is wonderful. I just, you know, they didn't get to work with my seasoned staff from years prior. So training will have to be different and everything, but we have a wonderful, wonderful group of people who've devoted, you know, their summers to working at camp, and I'm really, really thankful. And a lot of things are going to be so new that sometimes, we all know when people kind of get set in a certain way of doing things, it's harder for them to switch. So, we've got a really good fresh group to kind of process what we're going to be doing for summer. So we are going to be able to have volunteers, not as many, and it's going to be different, but we're still doing the counselor assistants in the cabins. We're just not going to be able to do program assistants and have like adult volunteers come in this year, just because of all the protocols we're doing. And I don't know if in anybody else's world, the way they're describing all of the safety measures and all of the different ways you tackle, mitigating your risk or whatever is the same, but and all the billions of webinars and workshops and everything that we're doing in all of our camp community with all of our organizations, they talk about NPIs, which are non-pharmaceutical interventions, and those are like us wearing a mask and being socially distanced. Well, they describe it like Swiss cheese. Has anybody else heard the Swiss cheese description? Okay, I'm gonna really enlighten everybody today. So every measure you do, they say, is like a layer of Swiss cheese. So, it's got holes in it. And I was telling the staff, I was like, we're not talking like baby Swiss, we're talking like real Swiss cheese with like big holes, And so everything we do, is putting a layer upon layer, so optimally we don't have the holes line up, to have the risk be increased. So we're making our plans right now, which is pretty tough, but to take every aspect and do everything we can to make kids have a fun, great, exciting, awesome time at Quaker Lake where they grow and they learn and all the things that we're for, but where, we're planning with layers of Swiss cheese. But I keep telling everybody, as things get better, if things get better, we're just ready to just be ripping off layers as we go. Because we still are really hoping that things will continue to improve and regulations will lighten up. We're not at we're trying at any way we possibly can to not have kids wear a mask outside. So we've made a lot of plans. We have a wonderful guy from Center, Joe Hodgen. I'm sure a lot of you guys know him, but he's giving us the tent, the big tent he lets us use for the Pumpkin Festival, the big one. We're going to put it in front of the new lodge. And Center Friends, Quaker Men, they approved, well, I'm not sure if it's exactly approved. They had the idea, because we were trying to get some more picnic tables built for camp, but you guys know how expensive lumber is right now. But we were trying to they had the idea of borrowing some picnic tables because we're putting extra ones under this tent and just having places like that where we can, just because we're going to cohort camp in fourths. So two cabins will be a cohort. You won't have to wear a mask around those kids, and we're trying to make everything smooth where we have a place to go. We can try to be outside as much as possible, and so we're doing a lot of things like that with programming. We are reducing capacity, so that part's really hard because, for right now, I think we have 2 spots left for girls over the age of 11, and it's all full. And there's waiting lists on some of especially the older groups, which I really hate because we are trying to cut back with cabins, which will allow us to be able to do more. And of course, we only want to do that this year. And you guys know, we were coming out of 19, 19 was huge for us. We had some really good years leading up, and 19, if you look at the pictures of campers from 19, we were running probably 6 and 6. We were running the max we could fit on that property with campers. And y'all remember 3,000 people came to the Pumpkin Festival. It was just but now, we're not trying to compare anything to anything. We're just really thankful to be doing something, and we're going to try to do it the best we can and make it be as great as it can be, and just be thankful to do it. And, it's a good time to try out things. And so we, aren't going to be trying out things that cost a lot of money because, we don't have a lot of money, but we do have a lot of great people and a lot of great support. So things like we just built another Gaga pit because we can do some activities where we have all the kids. We want them to feel like all of campus together, but we can have them kind of all together but separate. Just like free time's kind of evolved to where we know where they all are, but they think they just chose what they're doing and they're at free time, because we have, things are just a lot different. So we're going to be doing extra health protocols. We are having limited capacity. We are having different layers of things to help to control or reduce risk. And campers are signing up. People are ready for their kids to do something. And I will tell you, as a mother of 3, and my oldest, y'all, will be a senior in high school next year. So my little baby kids aren't babies anymore. But I have outside kids who are mostly outside and not on electronics, and this whole thing has changed all our kids this past year. And for parents to have an opportunity to send their kids somewhere for 1 week where they don't have an electronic at all is huge. I mean, it's so awesome, and it's so good for them, and they need that, and then they're going to be able to, all the rest happen. So camp's more important than ever before. We are so thankful that we are in this position and that you guys continue to take care of us, and that God continues to take care of Quaker Lake. So a couple things coming up that we could use some help with, and that is the golf tournament is May the 15th. So please spread the word about hole sponsors or golfers. I have been working with the golf course because last year the way we did it, kind of by accident, anyway, the way we did it was we did tee times instead of the shotgun start, and the golfers really liked that so much better. So I've been calling them at Holly Ridge, and I was like, okay, I had this idea. Like, if we do hole 10 every 3 times and hole 1 after, like, I've been like trying to work out all the times, and he was like, wow, you know, nobody ever really goes into it that way. But anyway, we've got this plan, and we're going to be doing tee times so we can get them all in the morning between 7:30 and 9:30, and we're going to start at 1 and 10, and so they won't overlap, and we won't be doubling up on holes, you know, until we get to the next bracket. So we've got a good plan. So hopefully tell your golfer friends it's going to be really smooth and really good. And please, if there's anybody you know we can contact about sponsors or hole sponsors or anything. Last year we raised such an amazing amount of money, and we need to do the same thing. Because as thankful as we are to be where we are, we've used our reserves, you know, to the most of our reserves. So we're not out of the woods yet, and you know, we know we're going to have less campers this year. We need the same amount of staff with all the extra measures we're going to have to do. So we still need to try to raise as much money as we possibly can. We're going to be putting the word out on Facebook and some stuff this coming week about spring cleaning week at Quaker Lake. Kickoff is March the 8th, the day before Mother's Day. So if anybody wants to come do some cleaning for 3 hours on well, I kind of hate to ask our mothers to do this, I guess, now that I just said that about Mother's Day, but on May 8th, the morning of, maybe some of the mothers can guilt their sons into coming and clean at Quaker Lake. But usually that's why we do good for the golf tournament, is because the moms at church on Sunday on Mother's Day say, are you not playing in that golf tournament? And then we get people to come. So we're going to kick it off. So we'll do that Saturday morning, May the 8th, and then the next week after, any weekday that anybody wants to come help us do a project, some cleaning, we're going to be putting some mulch out, doing some stuff like that, just contact me at Quaker Lake. And because we know some people might say, I might have Monday morning or Tuesday afternoon or whatever. And so just let me know if anybody's interested in helping. You know, it could be a family, a Sunday school class, you know, a men's group, you know, whatever. With that, we're working on the pool, and you know, we knew we were going to run into a lot of stuff because things were closed down for extra long. And so, you know, the first time we've had to use the old lodge, the freezer was broken. And you know, it's just kind of one of those things. Like the list can go on. I can tell you more things that have happened this past week. But one of the things we're dealing with is the pool. The pool's a tough cookie every year, and so we're working on that. And the company that had been helping us tripled their prices. I don't know exactly how COVID played a part in that or what happened or whatever, but anyway, they couldn't help us do it, and so we couldn't afford that anyway. But so we're trying to pressure wash the pool bottom, and if anybody were, and this is just a fluke, if anybody were to have time in the next week or maybe next weekend, you know, and has their own pressure washer and wants to show up at Quaker Lake for a few hours, if you know anybody, spread the word. We'll take a pressure. We can only, Paul, probably 3 at a time, you think? Yeah, that's all we can hook up. But anyway, if you happen to know 4 friends and you all want to pressure wash, you can take turns. But anyway, if anybody knows anybody that might want to help us with that, that would be great. And then just continue to pray for Quaker Lake and the staff and the campers, and just pray that we're making the right decisions, pray that we're following the right path. We know that place is God's and not mine, not ours. You know, it's His ministry, but you know, it's very challenging in these times to make sure that you're making the right decisions. And you know, we're filtering so much, and you guys know in our personal lives, we don't know what to believe anymore. You know, you have this and that and everything, and so we're trusting, you know, these accountable, you know, resources that we have and the regulations and measures. But we do want camp to be, you can't say safe because camp had risk before all that we've been through this past year, but we want to be smart and we want it to be a great experience where we can change their lives and let them meet Jesus and that they can, everything can be a healthy environment for them. So we appreciate your prayers more than anything. But thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Heather. Anybody have a question for Heather? We always like to hear what's going on at Quaker Lake. We appreciate that. And we're very excited that we're going to be able to hold our annual sessions there in August. So thank you. I'm glad that all worked out for us. Paul, would you like to report for YFAC?
I'm used to being behind the camera, not in front, so bear with me. Like Heather said with Quaker Lake, if you come and there's like everybody's at the pool, we got sidewalks, we got basketball court, so, but it's hard following Heather because she's so much more animated than I am. And I've had to do that for quite a few years because Heather and I are the same age. We went to camp together, so we've spent a lot of years at Quaker Lake together. However, on Young Friends, previously we have not had anything for a year. I wonder why, right? So what we're doing is we are meeting on the 19th of this month at Marlboro in person. We're going to do some if they can't make it. Our young youth leaders and our committee is going to try to plan out something. We usually do a spring and a fall event, and we just usually have had our spring event, and we actually got it in last year, right before schools closed the very next week. So we got lucky. We got the weekend right before they closed everything down last year, and so we didn't get anything for this year, but we're planning a fall retreat. In fact, we already had the fall retreat planned thanks to Sterling Brown. And he did all this work and had everything planned out, and then, of course, COVID, and then we didn't have anything. So we're taking his notes from last year and hopefully some of his expertise. But if you hadn't heard, he's going to get married come August. So congratulations to him. So if you see him, give him a pointer or two or tell him not to do it, whatever you want to call it. He's been a good help, and he's going to give us the reins to, I like that, thanks guys. He's going to give us the reins to be able to go, hopefully, with his ideas and what he's planned out, because all we're doing is just changing dates from 2020 to 2021. And we want your youth to get excited. I want you to tell them that we are starting back up, just like camp is. We're going to try to probably do limited capacity, we're following a lot of the same regulations. But that's pretty much it. We're looking forward. If you've got a youth leader we don't know about or didn't know about it, ask them. Tell them to Zoom. We'll try to Zoom or FaceTime or something in so that they can be part of the meeting, okay? But that will be the 19th at 7 o'clock at Marlboro Friends. So.
Very good. Thank you, Paul. Glad we're making plans. Mike Wall will come bring our superintendent's report.
I saw a plaque just the other day that said organized people are just too lazy to look for things. Oh, come on, that's funny. I don't know if I'm extremely organized today, but I'll try to break this down as much as I could. I've been extremely busy in the last couple of weeks in an unorganized way. According to the job description that I have, I'm supposed to visit with churches. I visited with 5 different churches since we met last, but one of them multiple times. And I want to say how much I appreciate Rusty. You've already talked about that, but I really appreciate Rusty helping with the visitation in the churches. We're going to do something different this month. We're both going to Contentnia at the end of April and be with a couple of their churches as well as in a quarterly meeting session. Churches that are searching for pastors, Bethel, Brannon, Science Hill, Winthrop, And Archdale is still trying to consider what to do for their other position. I was going to introduce their new pastor this morning, but he's not present. But Chad Riggs is the pastor at Archdale, but they're searching to figure out what to do for a second person. And I don't know if we've introduced Kyle yet. He's not here, is he? Kyle Woodlicka is the youth pastor here at Forbush. We've renewed all of our pastor ID cards, and I understand that there may be a problem with one of those, so we're working on that. Somebody didn't want to take our card as proof. Also, we sent out appreciation cards around the first of the year just to our pastors for all that they do. And I've met with 13 different pastors individually and others in groups. We had what I thought was a great retreat at Fort Caswell in February. I think it may have been the best one I've ever been at. I helped to organize and lead that. Churches, I want to encourage you to please encourage your pastors to participate in these things that we put together. Fort Caswell is one, that's an annual event, but make it clear to them that it's not vacation time. Some have said, well, if I go, I have to use up my vacation time. Make it clear that that's not true. Another thing I've done is to work with Greg Creed to assist the Bullards, and that's already been talked about. We're starting a new thing for pastors at the end of this month, the 29th, picking a date, and this may change eventually, but we're going to try to do a Zoom prayer meeting with all of our pastors on a monthly basis. I think that could be really good. And then we hope to meet with some others on a regular basis. Another thing was the revival that we did back at the beginning of December. I felt like the Lord was leading to do this. I contacted the chairman of the AOC, and he agreed that that would be a good thing to encourage all of us. And I give special thanks to Center for hosting us, and to Tommy Sluter, who volunteered to help, and to Paul, who was recovering from the virus but was invaluable in helping us get it online. I thought that turned out very well. We're doing the prayer emails weekly. If you're not getting that and would like to, please give me your email. I have talked with a couple of church people who were part of churches who left North Carolina yearly meeting, but we don't seem to have much impact in bringing them to join with us. I've attended a couple of funerals. Randy Quate's father passed away, and Gilmer Cox, former pastor, and tried to represent FCNC there. And one of the things I work on most is trying to find pastors. It's difficult right now. And then for the last 3 months, I have spent a lot of time with Thomasville Friends. That's a very difficult situation right now. One very positive thing is this. We're talking about printing Faith and Practice. This is the first printed copy of our Faith and Practice, Part 1, the Doctrine, in Spanish. And we're wanting to make this available to our Hispanic church. So we'll try to get the rest of that printed up soon. I've put 4 new videos out, one just before Easter. I don't know if the others are posted. Are they, Jenny? They're not posted yet, but they should be soon. Okay. The first one, the one before Easter, was called Easter Hide, if you're looking for the title. But it really tells about our pastor's retreat at Fort Caswell. 3 of them, the next 3 that are coming, are just bright spots that I see in FCNC. One of them is about Liberty Friends, and it's called Liberty 21. The other one, the second one, was Palm Sunday, and this was the event that Cedar Square and Marlboro and Archdale did on the Monday night after Palm Sunday. That was really good. I'm trying to portray that. And then I did a short video about the youth ministry at Marlboro, what Terry Linthicum is doing there, and that might be inspiring to some of us. So when those come out, try to look at them on, what are the Facebook? Is it the group page or the other one? Facebook page, okay. Personally, I see that God is on the move, and I believe that. We have some challenges, and I'm going to share one in a minute, but God's on the move. I see these little fires popping up in places. God is trying to revive us and put the Friends Church back on the map again. Some of our situations are difficult, some are discouraging, but others are really encouraging. It's difficult. We have a shortage of pastors, and we have some who are aging out. But we have some really good young pastors who are on fire and stepping up. And I encourage you, support them, encourage your pastors, and listen to them. They might just know how to reach a younger generation. Last, that's what you wanted to hear, wasn't it? I told my wife that she should embrace her mistakes, so she hugged me. I'm going to embrace some mistakes now, okay? Mike talked to you about revitalization. And in there he said, look at history. Well, I want to take a look at some of our history. One of our pastors did he shared with me some things that he had done, some research on his particular church. He went back and graphed their membership over the last, I think it was 30 years, and then used those numbers to project what the future would look like. And I thought, when I saw that, I thought, that might be a good idea. It can kind of help us to get a feel for where we are. Maybe sometimes seeing something visually can help us to react to it. So what I'm about to present to you is along that line, but I'm telling you this is false information, okay? It is not fake news, it's just not accurate. Did anybody hear what I just said? Say it with me. It is not accurate. You got that? So don't come to me later and say, well, this is wrong about us. Yeah, I'm telling you that up front. There are a lot of places to make a mistake in this, and I'm going to tell you some that we know about, and then there's probably others as well. But what I'm hoping is that this will help us to get a realistic grip on where we are as a group. First of all, the information that we used, we tried to find old minute books to pull our data from. And who knows if they were correct? I don't know. I could only use the data that I had. Second, we used a computer. And I discovered that computers sometimes round things off. So the numbers got a little bit changed. Another thing that might have happened is that some churches might have changed their membership guidelines or adjusted their membership. What do we call that when we catch them up after 50 years or something? So that would skew the numbers. Numbers, and that's all I'm working with here, they don't take into account changes. For example, the chart that I have for Kernersville is not accurate because in the past 18 months, Kernersville has just revitalized and started growing, and things are going up. So the chart doesn't work in their particular case. If you looked at them from 18 months ago, they look like a plane taking off. And that's not the way their current chart shows. What I'm showing you does not account for the pandemic. It does not take into account age. For example, we know that we're aging congregations. And if your church looks like it's on a plateau and holding steady, but everybody has gotten to the age of 95 now, that may not be a good thing. It also doesn't take into this fact, that as churches decline and they reach a certain point, what is the old saying? Rats leave a sinking ship. And people will leave rather than coming in. And it's not taking that into account, but the numbers would fall faster at the end. Plus, and here's the main one, I'm embracing my mistake, I probably made some human error, okay? So don't look at this as being factual, but what I would suggest that you do is use this and appoint somebody in your church to do it accurately. And maybe also do it for attendance. All I could work with was membership. We're looking at a trend, okay? That's what I'm going to show you, is a trend. What does our church look like for the past 20 years? We went back to year 2000. And then projecting, what's it going to look like 20 years down the road? And this is some of the things that revitalization was talking about. This is just a starting point. Get someone to do it more accurately. Take an honest look at your church. When we formed FCNC, we talked a lot about change. Don't forget that. We need to make changes. Now, the graphs that I have for you, I have one for each individual church, and they're right here on the table. They're in alphabetical order. So if you will pick up the one for your church, I even sealed them. So we're not showing them to everybody, but you can take yours back to your church and you can start dealing with it. And if you don't want to do it, then just throw it in the trash. Okay, I'll leave it at that too. Couple of things before we bring it up, and I'm going to show you how to read the graph. But first of all, we did not compile information on Odre Nuevo because they are too new and it just wouldn't work. We did not on Hunting Creek because of their situation, nor on Thomasville, which is in a real state of flux right now. Only 2 churches showed growth over the past 20 years. We projected on this that 6 of our churches, unless they make drastic changes soon, will not last more than 8 years. See if they continue on their trend. That can be turned around. Just ask Kernersville. It can be turned around. Only 16 out of the 29 will be operating after 20 years if they continue on this track. Again, the purpose is to help us see trends. It's not accurate. And it's not meant to discourage anybody, but maybe to help us see realistically where we are and turn it around. Okay, if you'll bring that up, Paul. The way the graph works, your church name will be up in the top left corner, and then we didn't have time to do year by year, we did on 5-year basis. And the membership will be 2000, 2005, 10, 15, 20, and then that red line is a projection based on the blue line that goes up to the red line. So it's charted as a graph. By the way, this is not one of our churches. This one was just made up, okay? At the bottom, there are 3 lines. The first one says gain or loss per year over a 20-year span. This particular model would have been 2.8 members lost per year. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but over 20 years, that's quite a few. We did a 10-year projection, which would put us up to 2031, and this church, which had 120 members 20 years ago, in 10 more years would have 36. And then we did a lifespan estimating. At the current rate, the lifespan for this church would be 22 years. Any questions? Do you see what I'm, maybe over here you can't see it very well. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. There's some things that would cause it to change. Like I said, once it gets down to a certain point, it's hard to maintain. You can't maintain the finances. People won't join if it's not looking like it's going in the right direction. It's hard to have staff and people to teach and do things if you don't have enough people present, and it's hard to maintain a full-time pastor. So this kind of looks negative, but that's not the point. The point is to help us turn around. I kind of coined a phrase recently. If the ship is sinking, it's not time to paint the kitchen. So I hope that this proves out to be helpful to you. I believe in Jesus. I believe in the Holy Spirit. I believe there's power in the Lord. And I believe in FCNC. And I believe we can turn this thing around in all of our churches if we will. And I will toot the horn one more time, Mike and Jake. If you don't know what to do, call on the Revitalization Committee. That form that they laid out this morning is excellent. Call on them to help you. Call on me. I'll try to help. Let's turn it around and see ourselves grow.
Thank you, Mike, and don't forget to pick up your folder before you leave. As David Hobson comes forward, reporting for FWCC, I would just like to tell you that we are eligible for 5 representatives for the FUM Triennial. Last year, the Triennial was scheduled in Kenya, and of course, it was not able to be held, and thankfully, the board decided that they didn't want to try to schedule it for this year either, a year ago, not knowing what the situation would be, but that turned out to be a great decision. So it will be held virtually this year, and we can have 5 representatives. So if you're interested, please let me know. The general sessions and the worship sessions, anybody can watch that, but the representatives will only be able to watch the business sessions.
Good afternoon. For Friendsboro Committee, the Section of the Americas normally has a section meeting, it's called now. It used to be an annual meeting, but it's held every 2 years now. Different factors, cost primarily, impact on the environment being one of those as well. But on March 12th through 21st, the Section of the Americas met virtually, online, totally. 300 and, I've got my notes here somewhere. Okay, it's on the other side, I thought. 300 and some attendees from across the Americas met over those 12 days, 10 days, online. And it stretched usually from about 11 o'clock on Eastern time till 10 o'clock that evening, so that the breadth and the depth of the time zones could be met. It was an interesting undertaking. Rossi chairs what is called the Convocations Committee of the section. They didn't do all the work, but they made sure that it was done so that you had simultaneous translation in some events or consecutive in others. That meant that the speakers needed to get their speeches to translators either way, English or Spanish. It was done, the sessions were fully done bilingually. If you knew Spanish, that meant you could, if you missed something in English, you might catch it in Spanish, or vice versa, that way. It was a spiritual event. This meeting online allowed people that could not afford to be there, traveling wise, to be there. We had far more participation from Latin Americans, even including Cuba, by way of Bolivia. I cannot remember his name Myron Gochwala hooked up the connection from Bolivia into Cuba so that they could hear. Traveling restrictions all around, it would not have happened otherwise. It allowed greater participation, greater sharing of spiritual warmth and inspiration. In the opening business session, Friends Church of North Carolina was approved into membership of the Section of the Americas. Are there questions or comments?
Thank you, David, for that report. And we can have one more representative to FWCC, is that correct? Okay. So if you are interested in being a representative on FWCC, please let myself or Greg Creed know. Before we dismiss, are there any concerns that need to be brought before this body? David?
I just want to let you know that Rusty Parsons and I are working on revising those pamphlets that Seth Henshaw did several years ago. It's been several years since they were revised, and we want you all to give us a hand, literally. Before you leave today, we want some of you to gather together, and we want to take a few pictures, principally of your hands, to use in those brochures.
Thank you. What a wonderful idea. I have a letter from a young man who is currently in a correctional facility. Someone from FCNC sent this young man a Christmas card. The reason I know about it is the Christmas card was sent in a green envelope, and for some reason they can't receive mail in anything but a white envelope. So Judith and I took the liberty of opening it to see what it was, and someone had sent a nice little note and a Christmas card to this person and signed it FCNC. So we've asked around and nobody knows anything about it, but this young man would like, if there is a person in the Greensboro area who would like to communicate or write to him, he would appreciate it very much. He is originally from Greensboro. So I just wanted to let you know this request if you feel like having a pen pal, I guess. Our announcements, Budget Day will be held September 18th and Representative Body on October 30th. And of course, we know about our annual sessions. Please remember May 23rd, Mission Sunday, and again, we'll have the silent auction at Quaker Lake this year for missions. Any other announcements? The program committee is meeting after this so we can make plans for annual sessions. Let us pray. Father, we thank you for this beautiful day and for this gathering here in person and online, Lord. We've heard some wonderful reports, and we do want to be your hands and feet, Lord. Give us the wisdom and the courage to follow your leadings, to be the light in this world for you. Be with every person who's here in their travels. Be with our meetings tomorrow during worship. May we truly praise and magnify your name. In Jesus' name, amen.